So, somebody asked an interesting question this morning about prayer. How do I practice prayer now? Now that I am in a new consciousness. I'm going to use a biblical example of the temple that is described in the Bible. And the layout of the temple symbolizes the layout of the human body and our consciousness. So in the temple described, you have three sections. You have the outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies. And think of these as three dimensions of consciousness, or unconscious, subconscious, and conscious. I don't want to complicate it too much with psychological terms right now, but so you are the temple, and there are three dimensions in you. First of all, we all start out in a very unconscious state or dimension by thinking that God is outside of us, He's in heaven, we are down here on earth, very much a separation consciousness, and we pray and offer our prayers up to God in heaven. That's a very outer court kind of activity. This is usually prayers for protection, health, safety, because in our consciousness we project all of these things as blessings that come from outside of us. The next dimension is the inner court. I might not have a real good explanation for that, but when we get to the inner court, I guess the outer court would be what we classify as religious practice. The inner court is a more spiritual dimension. We do feel closer to God. We are in the inner court a lot closer to the Holy of Holies than we were when we were in the outer court of religion. So in the inner court we have spirituality. Our manner of prayer might change. It might become more contemplative and meditative, meaning we're going to be looking more inward rather than outward and praying external. We pray inwardly. It's just a slight shift in our awareness. And then you have the Holy of Holies. Once you enter the Holy of Holies, that is where you come into the dimension or consciousness of oneness with God and as God. You realize that God has manifested itself as matter, as my being. Therefore, I now have a relationship with myself, which is quite strange to comprehend. But the relationship with self creates such a union within ourselves through self-love that there is no longer a sense of separation between you and God. You are it, and it is you. And prayer from that place is no longer an asking for, a pleading, or begging for anything outside of you, because consciously you comprehend, you understand that you are peace, you are love, you are safety, you are protection. Your higher being is God, and God does not need any protection, does not need any safety, does not need any peace, because God is those things. And in this shared consciousness, in this dimension, in the inner, in the Holy of Holies, we function, we operate in a consciousness of being the very things that we used to ask for in the outer court and the inner court reality. But now you are it, and all prayer in that state, in that dimension, just expresses itself more or less in the frequency, vibration, and emotion of appreciation and gratitude. Not to anyone outside of yourself, just all of this takes place within yourself, and it generates higher frequencies. It generates the frequencies of peace and love and joy and contentment. And as you become these things on the inside, you will begin to magnetize them from the outside without having to verbally ask for any of it. You become it on the inside, and it comes and matches from the outside. And prayer just becomes a state of being. But now, as I said, none of these different forms are wrong. We progress through this ascension of awareness gradually. So I hope this makes sense in how prayer works, what prayer is, and what prayer can become. And hopefully that answered some of your questions.